Okay, now we're recording. 3, 2, 1.
Welcome to Offensive, the only show that sucks worse than NFL backup quarterbacks. And if you can't even believe it, because the NFL backup quarterbacks have proven this week that they are terrible again. They went from the darlings of the NFL to, and we don't know whether Joe Flacco counts as a backup or a starter anymore, but
yeah, leave it in the comments. I say he was the starter when he got traded. He's the starter as soon as he came over. Yes, he'll be a backup, but I think he counts as a starter.
We're hoping one day to be on Joe Flacco's level, right? You don't know for a starter or reserve, but you just don't know what you have no idea what's coming.
That'd be going up like 4 levels for
That'd be going up. That'd be going up.
Way more than 4, but
way up to 4 levels.
Yeah.
But this and the last couple of weeks of NFL games have been kind of sloppy and terrible too, other than like maybe a few good games, right? But it's exciting because you have no idea who's going to win. One week, the Atlanta Falcons defense is the best in the league. The next week, they can't stop anybody, and they look terrible, right? That's kind of what the NFL wants. So we're going to go and look over all these like fun games some of the games from this fun weekend. Here we go.
There it is. All right. Well, since we'll go in top to bottom, who's going to talk about the Denver Broncos game? Were you going to talk about that one, Doug?
Yeah.
You want to see what Denver has to say? All right, tell us about the game. What happened? How did the Cowboys get trounced in this game?
So the thing is, like, and Dave brought this up, the Cowboys are trying to run like zone defenses. Bo Nix can like pick those apart, and the Broncos offensive line showed up. They could run the ball against the Broncos. So when the Broncos are feeling comfortable and Bo Nix can just throw those kind of easy passes,
Broncos could run the ball against the Broncos.
And what?
The Broncos could run the ball against the Broncos?
I can run the ball against the Broncos. He meant the Cowboys. Keep going, Doug. Don't interrupt.
Yeah. So, oh, God. Okay. So,
friends are good.
Dave fucked it all up. It's okay. Doug, start again. What does Denver think about this game, Denver Radio? Because this is the first game all year where Denver's offense actually showed up in the first half instead of the last 12 minutes of the game. So are they thinking they're great now? They've gotten over the hump. I mean, they are 6-2. Denver's probably the ugliest 6-2 team I can remember in a long time.
So they looked really good in this game. They scored a lot of points. They were able to execute their offense really well. When I was watching the game, Sean Payton looked like he drew up a magnificent, like, genius level game plan for this game, right? So, like, the question is, can they do that? Can Bo Nix perform like this against good defenses and good teams? He's going to have to show that he does. I feel like they're a really good team that can pick on bad defenses. They did stop the Cowboys offense, which was like kind of shocking. Like they kind of shut them down, even though they did score 24, but most of the game, they only had about 12 points. So, the Cowboys' offense is supposed to be really, really good, and the Broncos made them almost a non-factor in this game. So the Broncos' pass rush is really, really good at times, and their back end is like super good. So that's something people can learn from, maybe how to stop the Cowboys. But the key here is Sean Payton drew up a really amazing, genius game plan against the Cowboys. It was just like scoring at will. Bo Nix looked great. Their running game looked really good. So I think the sentiment now is going from people are not sure about Sean Payton to the sentiment's really positive, and now they just need to see him be able to do this against like really good defenses and teams.
Yeah, they did have a good game plan. Go ahead, Dave.
Yeah, it just kind of stunk seeing Surtain go out in the second. It was the first or second quarter with knee issue knee or shin, whatever it was. Then he's able to come back in the game. He didn't quite look the same, and then he had to go out in the third quarter, and now he's going to be out for a couple of weeks with a pectoral issue, I guess. So him not being there, it hurts, but it was nice to see them still able to step up. Jahdae Barron got his first interception of his career, end of the season, the first round draft pick. So it's nice to see, a hole opens up and then somebody else is able to step into it. So I think the defense showed up much better than we could have hoped. All in all, they're going to be a fun team. And next week at the Texans is going to be a really interesting matchup to see what Sean Payton can draw up against that defense. I think we're going to learn a lot more next week than we did yesterday.
I agree, because the Broncos is probably the worst matchup for the Cowboys, because the Cowboys throw the ball so well and everything feeds off of that. And their no-fly defense definitely did a good job. Not to mention they're hitting their Cowboys on their weekly loss. So, Cowboys go win, loss, win, loss, win, loss. So this was their loss week. They'll probably win next week. But, I mean, Dak couldn't do anything. He didn't have a passing touchdown for the first time all season. They were held under 20 points against the Bears, but they've scored basically 30 points in every other game. And that 24, like Doug said, was just kind of some points they added on in the end. So they really weren't even getting close to 20 most of the game. The game was already over by the time they scored their 20th point. So Broncos looked really good. I thought it would be a little bit closer game, but I think the Broncos are just a really bad matchup for the Cowboys, and it showed because their passing offense could not do much of anything in this game. So, all right, 6-2 Broncos leading the division. Let's go down the list, and we've got my game that I want to talk about, which is Buffalo versus Carolina. All right, look, I didn't think Carolina was going to win this game. First of all, I didn't think Andy Dalton was going to start. But I did say this is a game that the Bills need to go and dominate if they are the Bills we think they are, and they're not continuing to flounder like that Atlanta game. The Bills took care of business. They ran for 260-plus yards. Andy Dalton was having a terrible day all day. He basically gave them 14 points. And the Buffalo defense, which has been really bad, actually stopped the run. Now, I think part of that is I think there was a bad play calling. Like, literally, Andy Dalton couldn't get it out of his own way. He took a bunch of terrible sacks, and at the end of the half, he took a terrible sack when he should have just thrown the ball out of bounds so they could get another play. I mean, he made pretty much every wrong decision I could imagine. And having said that, he actually threw for more yards than Josh Allen. Now, he only had 174 yards, but Josh Allen had 169 because he didn't need to throw the ball because the Bills ran the ball so well. So here's some crazy stuff, because Josh Allen actually set a record yesterday. And he broke Cam Newton's record, which was 46 games where he had at least one passing and one rushing touchdown, which is pretty cool, honestly. And you kind of expect those kind of stats from Josh Allen. But when I was looking that up, I actually found some other really cool stats. So check this out about Josh Allen, which I did not know. In his first 7 seasons as a starting quarterback, he holds the NFL record for most wins at 76. That's more than Mahomes, Lamar, Rodgers, Favre, Brady, all those guys. More total touchdowns at 262 than any quarterback in NFL history, and more total yards at 30,595 than any quarterback in NFL history through his first 7 years. Now, a big part of why people don't realize, I think, how good he is probably because he's in the AFC and they've been overshadowed by the Chiefs. But that's not where it stops. He has the most 300 passing and 50 rushing yard games in NFL history. He's the first quarterback with a passing, rushing, and receiving touchdown in a single game. Remember that? That was kind of cool. And he actually has the most games of 2 passing and 2 rushing touchdowns of any quarterback in NFL history. So that's some pretty significant stuff. I mean, the guy's been really good. And even though he didn't have to do a lot in the game, I think Josh Allen isn't necessarily appreciated for how good he is, because those are some pretty amazing records. Long story short, though, my Panthers that I want to make the playoffs, I hope they lose next week because they play the Packers, and please let Andy Dalton play because he was so bad in this game. He literally was worth like negative 14 points in this game. The Panthers scored 9. So let's say he was worth -5 in this game. I mean, I don't think I've seen a worse quarterback performance in a very, very long time. So congrats to the Bills. You took care of it on the ground. Your defense looked good, but I think that's more Andy Dalton being just disgustingly bad versus the Bills defense being good. But hopefully they can get better. And this is a good stepping stone for them to take back that division crown from the Patriots, who now have an extra win on top of them. So, all right, we're moving on to Dave. Dave, what was your favorite game of the weekend?
I wanted to talk for a moment about Atlanta, just the Dr. Jekyll, Mr. Hyde, losing 30-0 to the Panthers, then beating the Bills, then getting manhandled by the Dolphins. But I kind of want to switch over instead to the Patriots. Do you remember watching Jordan's Bulls back in the day, how the first half they'd kind of play, it's like they're playing with their food, it'd be close. And then in the third quarter, they just beat the piss out of them and outscore them by like 20 points. That's kind of what happened in New England yesterday. You look at the first half, and we thought it'd be a close game. We thought, a strong defense, for the Browns. They figured they'd keep it close. Myles Garrett gets 5 sacks, which is amazing. Only one of those was kind of a gimme where he's cleaning up. The other 4 is he's just dominating guys. And even with that performance, the score is 9-7 at half. Cleveland was right where they wanted it to be. And then all of a sudden, despite getting smacked around, Drake May says, okay, let's go. And he hits 3 touchdowns in the third quarter to pull away from the game. So I thought that was a really big step just to show the maturity, even though he's getting rush out there. They're getting pressures, his offensive line, it still lacks and whatnot. But for him to have the maturity up there, and he wasn't freaking out or nothing, he wasn't yelling at guys on the sideline. He just had the composure. He's like, okay, yeah. Okay, yep, now we're going to try. And he just put the pedal to the metal on it, ripping off a big 20-yard run, and then he hits Booty for the touchdown pass shortly thereafter, finding Hunter Henry, finding Stephon Diggs. Josh McDaniels, I love trashing him in years past because I'm like, well, you're an amazing coordinator when you had Tom Brady. You go anywhere else and you think, maybe he really is a great offensive coordinator. He just isn't a head coach material. Because what he's done with Drake May this year is pretty damn fantastic. Their offensive line still has holes and whatnot. But seeing that offense rev, and nobody really thinks that they have all-star wide receivers, but he's making Booty a thing.
Yeah. And Diggs showed up. And I kind of agree with you. McDaniels has been good as an offensive coordinator, but it's just he should not be a head coach. And everyone should just realize don't hire McDaniels as your head coach. Just don't do it. Let him be a good offensive coordinator because he is a pretty good one, right? And dude, honestly, like the picture of Myles Garrett at the end of this game where he's sitting on the bench all by himself, like way down on the end of the bench after he gets a career high 5 sacks. And it means nothing. You could have been on the Packers, bro. You re-signed that contract, but we're happy with Micah. Just saying, you could have been on the Packers, bro.
He's got those 5 sacks and he's playing out of his mind, but he's still like only 7th on the MVP list because he's on the Browns.
Dude, you know who's 3rd on the MVP for Vegas right now? Drake May. Drake May skied up to 3 now, or 4 in some other polls, but he's basically 3. I think it's Mahomes, Allen, and then Drake May, which is just crazy. So, yeah, good game by the Patriots. And I just want to say real quick about the Dolphins game, since we didn't bring that up. I told you guys that Tua was due for a 4-touchdown game. I knew it was going to happen. But you know what that means? Next week, he's going to throw 2 picks and 2 touchdowns. Then the next week, he'll throw 3 picks. And then it's not going to make a difference. It doesn't mean anything. But then in 5 weeks, he'll throw another 4 touchdowns. It just, that's what he is, dude. Tua just has these games where he looks like he's got it figured out. And then he has these games where he looks like he shouldn't be in the NFL. But he's going to get some 4-touchdown games sometimes. I just happen to hit it this week. But, okay, 2 in a row for the Dolphins. Keep winning, Dolphins. Keep Mikey Flavors in the job, please.
Oh, and I did want to give one shout out. Trevion Henderson been getting blasted all year because he does nothing. 10 carries, 75 yards. Really excited to see maybe his breakout. And then he got a fumble, which kind of ruined on it. But at least there's a little bit of life from the rookie everyone's been waiting for. And that's, again, an elite defense. So hopefully that's the start of something good for this year.